Welcome to the Raiders facility where Las Vegas is opening up their training camp for the 2022 season. Josina Anderson alongside Brian McFadden. The rookies reported on Monday, the veterans on Wednesday. What are the main things that you're looking forward to seeing with the camp, especially with Josh McDaniels starting his tenure here?
Of course, right there, you have a new man in charge. When you look at the head coach, Josh McDaniels, his second opportunity being a head coach of the National Football League. How fast will we see the rhythm established on the offensive end? Being an offensive-minded guy, working with an experienced quarterback in Derek Carr, some experienced playmakers on the offensive end. Most people believe this offense should be running like it will be in mid-season, starting early in training camp. So hopefully he can generate that type of rhythm early on in training camp.
And then the other thing, too, is just Derek Carr obviously needing to prove himself. A little bit of pressure with these added pieces because you got Davante Adams now, one of their first top wide receivers since Amari Cooper. What are you expecting to see just from that combo?
Outstanding numbers. I mean, when you look at Derek Carr, he put up real good numbers last year. We understand the team success, being able to get into the playoffs and be one possession away from beating the Cincinnati Bengals. But you look at his numbers, over 4,800 yards, 20-plus touchdowns. He was able to do that without Davante Adams. Now, if you throw Adams into the mix, I believe Derek Carr is going to put up outstanding numbers. And once again, I've been saying this the entire offseason. Put some respect on Derek Carr's name, because when you talk about the quarterbacks in the AFC West, we understand Mahomes, Herbert, Russell. But Derek Carr can play football too, and he's going to show everyone that this year.
So many new added pieces here with the Raiders. A lot to look forward to as we both watch training camp today. Now we'll send it back to the studio.
JoJo and B-Mac, thank you guys so much. Have so much fun out there in Vegas at training camp. Odds to win the AFC West. Are we sleeping on the Raiders? You got the Chiefs there, plus 155, followed by the Broncos and Chargers, both at plus 250, and then the Raiders a distant fourth. Let's welcome in our good friend Ryan Wilson here to walk us through. Right, I've been looking for an adjective for the AFC West, like intimidating, intense. Do you have one? Like, how do we describe this division?
It is the Friday of NFL divisions. How about that?
All right, we'll go with that. Let's work our way through the AFC West as training camps get underway. Let's start with the Raiders here because they were the first team to go fully back. We are now in the Josh McDaniels era. We heard them talk about Davante Adams, his chemistry between him and Derek Carr. Talk to me about this Josh McDaniels era, though, and are we sleeping on the Raiders in this division?
I think we are. We saw the graphic coming in. They're plus 700 to win the division. That does feel sort of disrespectful. And Derek Carr said earlier this week that he understands that people aren't taking him seriously and he plans to use that as motivation. I don't know if that's actually true. I think where BMAC came down on it a moment ago is where most people are. This team is really, really good. They were really good last year without Josh McDaniels. And now Josh McDaniels is there, and he is going to be a much different coach than he was the first go-around as a head coach back in 2010 when he got that Denver job. And things went sideways pretty quickly, and he found himself back in New England for the better part of a decade. I think he's learned from that experience. He's still a great offensive mind, and now he has the weapons around him. And we heard Josh McDaniels say this. It would take a special opportunity. Las Vegas, Derek Carr, the addition of Davante Adams, a really good defense, even in that incredibly tough division, feels like it checks all the boxes. And I expect, in much the same way that BMAC just mentioned, this team to come out and fire on all cylinders pretty quickly, primarily because Derek Carr, whether you like him or not, is a really good football player. And I think he's earned that respect over the course of his career, former second-round pick, now playing like one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the NFL.
And he's come out and made it known, look, he has a chip on his shoulder just because of those odds. And they do feel like they're being overlooked. All right, let's go to the favorite in this division, the Chiefs. You got rookies reporting today, veterans on Tuesday. No Tyreek Hill. We could say it 1,000 times over. That is it. You got Juju, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They drafted Sky Moore. He's intriguing. Where does your confidence and concern lie within the Chiefs?
Yeah, so Tyreek Hill, his now being in South Florida, is a concern if you're Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So maybe the biggest concern right now is Orlando Brown, the offensive tackle, who's sort of using his leverage as, hey, I'm the guy that has to protect the best player in football. You need to pay me as such. Using that leverage to perhaps get a few more dollars out of the Chiefs. We'll see where this goes. I think the other stuff offensively will sort itself out because, again, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes tend to make those things work. But I do want to find out how the offensive line works, because we saw what happened 2 years ago in the Super Bowl when the offensive line was rattled with injuries, and Patrick Mahomes took an absolute beating in that loss to Tampa Bay. So I think for me, that's the biggest issue right now. They've had a few months to work out what it's going to be like in a post-Tyreek world. And you mentioned Sky Moore. They signed Justin Ross, who was a first-round talent before the neck injury at Clemson as an undrafted free agent. He'll have a chance to make some money. You mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster, McCole Hardman, of course. But I think at the end of the day, the left tackle is going to be a concern because if you're not protecting Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't matter whether you have 2 Tyreek Hills out there or you have, Juju Smith-Schuster running routes for you.
And the Chiefs just had such a weird start to the season last year. I want to see if we're going to see that again. Let's go to the Broncos. Wilson now new quarterback, a new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. I guess the question with the Broncos is how quickly can this team come together? What are we going to see for them? What is your question when it comes to the Broncos?
That is my question, Amanda. So, we're having a mind meld here because I love Russell Wilson. I love what he did in Seattle during his decade there. I had no issue with him wanting out of Seattle because he wanted to be more of a pass. I wanted to be more of a pass-happy offense. That's what it's going to get in Denver. But how quickly is all this going to come together? And unfortunately, the Broncos don't play in the AFC South. They play in the AFC West. So while he has a lot of good players around him, Cortland Sutton's there. They drafted Greg Dulcich, the tight end out of UCLA, to replace Noah Fant, who was part of that trade. They have Nathaniel Hackett, who's a great offensive mind, and he has some experience working with veteran quarterbacks. He just came over from Green Bay. But they have a lot of strikes against them in that they're in the same division with the Raiders, the Chargers, and the Chiefs. So if they don't come out swinging, and let's say they start like the Chiefs did last year and they're 3-3, can they turn that around in that incredibly tough division? So that's my only concern. I think it's a little rich plus 250 for them to win the division. I think I like the Raiders a little more. I don't know if that works for Derek Carr or not, but I think the question is the same question you have. How quickly does this come together? How quickly can Russ get on the same page with his new teammates?
And we're going to find out over the next couple of weeks and months because the season's going to be here incredibly soon. So you mentioned the plus 250 for the Broncos is a little rich there. That's the same odds as the Chargers. So look, you got Justin Herbert. Fantastic. At some point, he's going to be making bukus of money, especially what we saw with Kyler Murray there. And that's going to happen. Look, he's only going to help himself if they have a phenomenal season. Ryan, the Chargers have still not been to the postseason since 2018. Can that happen this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this Chargers team primarily because of Justin Herbert. I talked to folks on that staff that think Justin Herbert's going to be better than Patrick Mahomes, and that doesn't even sound like a stretch. We've seen him play. We've seen him play at a pretty high level. How they missed the playoffs last year in that game where all they had to do was tie against the Raiders is still a hard one to figure out, but I think this is the year that it all comes together. I love the head coach. I love the aggressiveness that they play with. All the players on both sides of the ball. They got Khalil Mack to play opposite Joey Bosa. They have Derwin James. They signed J.C. Jackson on defense. So that defense is built to stop the Patrick Mahomes and Derek Carrs of the world, the Russ Wilsons of the world. And then offensively, they drafted another offensive lineman in the first round, Zion Johnson, to pair with Rashawn Slater, their former first-round pick on the offensive line. It feels like it's all coming together. Now they just have to execute and not make sort of those Chargers-like mistakes that cost them 1 or 2 or 3 football games a year. If they do that, I think, Amanda, they have a real chance to actually win the division.
I remember Will Brinson had to argue why the Chargers won't make the postseason, and his main reason was they're the Chargers. So wait, Ryan, really quickly, so are you going Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders, Broncos? Like, what's your pecking order?
Chargers, Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos. Okay. So, and maybe 3 of the teams make the playoffs. That'll be a stretch. I think the Broncos actually may end up missing the playoffs. Just my Brinsian hot take there. Not because they're a bad football team, but for the reasons we talked about in that Russ Wilson maybe has a little adjustment period while the other teams come out red hot and firing.
Ryan Wilson, we appreciate it so much. Ryan Wilson, part of the Pick Six podcast, which you should download and follow right now. Latest episode, of course, talking about Kyler Murray getting his big extension there. The 49ers allowing Jimmy G to start seeking trade destinations, but will he actually leave? Make sure to download and follow. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.